G'day, I'm David Scandura,
I'm Justice Burkett.
and today we're here to find out, is The Proposition the greatest movie ever made?
Oh, Danny boy, the flies are crawling.
Welcome to The Greatest Movie Ever Made, the show where we watch a movie and tell you if it's the greatest movie ever made.
Blimey.
Fuck, there's a lot of fucks in this.
Fuck. They're not really Australian accents, though, because this is Australia in the 1880s.
Yeah.
I feel like the accent had not truly developed. There's like one guy, one of the cops, the shitty sergeant.
Yeah.
He sounds pretty Australian.
Mhm.
And then the Aboriginal member of the Burns gang, he also sounds really Australian. But everybody else is mostly like Irish and English.
There are a lot of Australian actors in this movie, but they're all doing different accents.
Right,
which is
they're
fun.
mostly doing Irish and
Yeah. A movie that is so thoroughly entertaining and compelling that while you're watching it, it's the only thing that matters in the world or the outback.
Yeah.
I'm David Scandura, joined as always by my co-host and a fly buzzing around any number of the characters in this movie, Justus Burkett.
I see. That's a great one. I'm glad you went with the flies because there are. My initial thought was like there are more flies in this movie than there are human actors, but I feel like in most movies featuring flies, that's true, and it doesn't really communicate to someone who hasn't seen this movie the true volume of flies present in this film.
Moreover, there are so many flies on people.
Yes, everyone is fucking covered in flies. It's really disgusting. So I'm glad you went with the flies. However, what I thought you were gonna call me in my introduction was like a little piece of filth or whatever the fucking pompous like governor guy or whatever he is keeps calling the little baby Burns brother. He just when he sees him in the prison cell and he's like little piece of filth.
A little piece of filth.
I fucking hate that guy.
David Wenham is like tea and crumpets British in this movie, and
Yes.
also the most evil man on planet Earth.
Like, yeah, this movie does a great job of making you boil with rage every time he speaks. It's like a lot of people in this movie get worse than they deserve, right? That guy does not get his comeuppance at all, and he needs to. If there's anyone who should get 100 lashes, it's that fucking guy. Anyway, yes, we're here to talk about a western.
An Australian Western.
An Australian Western, the second Western. We have covered
a
two.
meat pie Western,
Yes.
as they're called.
Oh, are they called meat pie Western?
Yes, there's an extensive history of Westerns set in the
A
Australian
meat pie
outback.
Western.
Yeah. I mean, spaghetti Western.
Yeah. That's funny that it's always cuisine, I guess.
Yeah, there is one
Is
for...
like a Spanish one like a tapas Western? A paella Western?
I'm trying to think. There is one for Russian Westerns, because there are Russian Westerns.
Borscht Western?
I think it might be Red Western, actually. But yeah, it's
those
all...
filthy commies.
Well, a lot of them were made during the Soviet Union,
Right, yes,
too.
yeah.
But also, goddamn commies.
Yeah. Yes, but this is a Western from down under.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the two Westerns we've covered, Rango and now this, both of them are kind of, I guess you could say, unconventional Westerns.
Right.
Right? Because when you think of Western as a film genre, you tend to think things that take place in the American West and are live action and star human beings, which neither of these films fulfill all of those criteria. So we still haven't hit like a just straight down the middle Western. We've kind of like launched into weird little niche pockets of the Western, which I kind of appreciate as someone who is aware of the genre but hasn't like watched a lot of those classics. I like that sort of my dips into the Western as it stands are kind of like these weird like oddball entries in the canon. It's just a fun way to experience the genre. So I'm glad you picked this.
Yeah, these are this and Rango are both non-traditional westerns.
Yeah.
However, I think there are pretty big differences between them, being that Rango is very rootin', tootin', and shootin', and there is absolutely no rootin', no tootin', some shootin' to be found in the proposition.
There is, the movie opens with shooting. But nobody is rootin' or tootin' in this movie.
No.
Mostly people are sadly brooding.
No, I picked a bad time. I picked an ultra bad time western, and at some point we will hit on a traditional western that is rootin', tootin', and shootin'.
Right.
We'll do a Tombstone. We'll do The Searchers or something.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, of course. But for now, I was like, no, let's keep things weird. Let's keep things weird and sad.
Yeah. Speaking of weird and sad, how are you doing, David?
I'm good, actually.
Good.
Wonderful, even.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Well, in that case, I apologize for that transition.
No, I've had a good week. Had dinner with my folks I had dinner with my mom and then dinner with my dad separately because they were both my dad was out of town and then my mom was away doing something. So but had a really nice time with both of them individually. My mom made burgers. My mom has recently, in the last couple of years, discovered that she has a number of food allergies. So it was like coming over to have burgers with my mom. I brought the chips that are allergen free that she can eat. And then she was like, okay, so we're going to have my my non-allergenic cheese. We're going to try to melt it on the burger. Also, I have one slice left of my allergen-free bread that I can eat and a hot dog bun. So, so she put a full burger on one slice of bread cut in half, just this little triangle with a big quarter-pound burger
just
on it.
Pinching the tiny bread with the disc of meat in between it.
And then she tried to shape my burger patty into a hot dog-esque shape.
I really hoped that's what you were gonna say, because I was like, it's so much less funny if she tried to like cut the hot dog bun in half and like make it fit a traditional burger shape. It's so much funnier to try and make an oblong like a cylinder shaped burger patty.
Yes, she did make a hot dog burger.
That's awesome.
which I've tried before.
Yeah.
It's just ground beef just doesn't want to go that way. It just doesn't want to stay in an oblong shape, I guess.
I guess not.
But yeah, had a good week overall. The only thing I have to recommend, I've been watching a lot of Man vs. Food clips on YouTube while I cook.
Hell yeah, man.
I'm on a cut. So Man vs. Food is like porn to me right now.
Yeah, just being like, oh god, I want to eat that grease ball so bad. Yeah.
It's Man vs. Food is like Jerry Springer, where it's like a monolith of everything wrong with American culture. And I sort of respect it because of that.
Right. It's also like compelling.
Yeah.
For that reason.
Yeah. Like it is grotesque and disgusting and also magnificent. What's really bad is when you've watched enough Man vs. Food where you get to the point where you're like, I could fucking eat that. I could eat those 12 chili dogs.
Yeah.
I could take down that 72-ounce steak.
I feel like 12 chili dogs, like that's a lot, but I do feel like that's one where I'm like, I think I could house 12 chili dogs. I'd feel awful afterwards, but I'm pretty sure I could do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Man vs. Food definitely does a good job cutting out all the vomit in the parking lot and the diarrhea afterwards.
Yeah, or just sitting there after eating it being like, ugh. Which I've definitely had some meals where that happened to me.
Yeah. I just need to not move for 3 hours.
One time in college, High Priestess Pod and I went to Oregano's, which any of our listeners who are familiar with Flagstaff, or they also have those other places in the state. It's an Arizona Italian chain. They had an all-you-can-eat spaghetti bowl thing special going on, and High Priestess Pod and I, when we were in college, we were broke college kids, and we were like, all you can eat spaghetti at fucking Oregano's. Like, let's go. We're like not gonna eat lunch. We're gonna like come in super hungry, and we're just gonna fucking house so much spaghetti. And we got through, I think, like 2.5 bowls each, but they were like big ass bowls because they're trying to fill you up so that the all you can eat deal pays off on their end.
Oregano's has huge ass portions to begin with.
Yes. So we each went through like a couple bowls of this all you can eat spaghetti. And I was like, I have never been so full in my life. It literally felt like the thing from Monty Python's The Meaning of Life, where it's wafer thin. And then the guy fucking eats it and explodes. That's how I felt. But then after that, we didn't have a car, so we had to walk back to our dorm. And that walk was some of the most pain I have ever been in my entire life, because I was just like, moving hurts. My entire body is so saturated with fucking salt and starch and fat that I am just like, I feel like if I step off the curb wrong, my entire body is just gonna explode. Yeah, it was wild. Anyway,
I think I don't know if I have a memory of like the worst I've ever felt eating something or the most that I've ever eaten, but I do remember in college I had I can't remember, a burrito at La Fonda, which is a local Mexican place that is completely overrated. Let me just say that.
Yeah, it's not that good.
But the burrito was like one third beef, 1/3 chicken, 1/3 rice and beans. It was probably like at least a pound. And I don't think I'd eaten anything else that day. And I resolved that I was going to eat the entire thing. And then I did. And then I went to the bathroom and lost a little bit of it in the toilet.
Yeah.
But that was rough.
Yeah.
But looking back on that now, I'm like, I probably could eat that whole thing now, and be fine.
You know what?
Considering how my eating habits have changed in the last 10 years.
You know what's wild is, as bad as I felt after that pasta thing at Oregano's, High Priestess Pod felt way less bad than I did, because High Priestess Pod is like, I think if she trained, she could be a true contender for like competitive eating competitions. She can fucking put food away when she wants to, in a way that is like athletic. She won a burger eating competition when we lived in Utah, and I'm trying to remember exactly how big the burger was. I think it was like 2 or 3 pounds of meat. That's the pre-cook weight, right? So it cooks down, but it was like a truly massive burger, and it was like a thing. The restaurant was doing the thing where they're like, if you finish the burger, you get your picture on the wall. And she went with one of her coworkers, and they both tried the burger challenge. High Priestess Pod finished hers and then started eating the other, like her coworker's fries, while he was like struggling to get through the burger. And then she came home, took like a 12-hour I was going to say 12-hour nap. That's fully sleeping. Slept for like 12 hours and then was totally fine once she woke up. And I was like, that is fucking incredible.
That's rad as hell. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's one of the hottest things I've ever seen. Yeah, and I think she, for a little bit, held the record for the fastest time that someone had done the brick burger challenge, is what it was called.
Nice.
Yeah. Very proud moment for me as a husband, where I was like, that's my wife. That's my wife that ate that big burger.
But yeah, that's how I am. No
Good.
more food talk. How are you doing?
I'm doing good as well. Very good. Interestingly, both of us, a highlight, it sounds like, was time that we spent with our parents recently. My parents came up, as you noticed when you showed up to my house to record today. My front porch is fully demolished and in pieces in my yard, and there is the beginnings of a new front porch being built. That's because my parents came up the last couple days and were helping me with that like deck project. So yeah, I'm building a deck and it's fun, and I don't know fucking anything about building a deck. Which is why I asked my parents, who are really good at that kind of shit. They've like added a bunch of like additions to their house, which is the house I grew up in. They've like redone their like back patio and like added a little front patio area. They like are really, really good at that shit. And it's always been a thing that I've admired a lot about them. And so when I had this project coming up, I was like, I'll just ask them if they want to like come help, and they have. And it was awesome spending that time with them and like working on this project with them. It definitely like gave me a big appreciation for just like how good they are at stuff, like how skilled they are. And yeah, and I was like, man, I'm like, I hope half their age of them have, and so hopefully or ever will listen to this podcast. But let me just say that my parents are awesome, and I really enjoy spending time with them, and I know that I'm fortunate to feel that way because a lot of people don't have a good relationship with their parents. But yeah, just hanging out with them and building the deck, I was like, my mom and dad fucking rule. They're so cool. So yeah, and doing good otherwise as well. But yeah,
that's good. And yes, your parents are lovely, wonderful people. I'm glad you had a great time building a deck with them, because the idea of completing any sort of project with my dad is basically just like my personal hell. And I have a good relationship with my dad. I love my dad.
You just don't want to build a deck with him.
But anytime that man has a hammer in his hand, he is a different person.
Yeah, I feel like my dad's like best self is when he's like working with tools, right? Like when my dad has power tools out, it's like, oh, I will trust this. I will follow this man into war. He definitely has like strong like leadership energy when he has his radial saw out. Anyway, yeah, so that's how I am. I don't think I have anything to recommend other than my new problematic fave in terms of movies is the film In Bruges, a movie that uses just so many R words and is like very racist at times.
Where the fuck is Bruges?
And also, the most recent time I watched it, I was just like, this is a fucking masterpiece. This is the best movie I've ever seen. So, you know, if you want to come for me, watch In Bruges and tell me all the reasons why it shouldn't be my favorite movie right now. Because I know there's a lot. But there's also a lot of reasons why that movie rules.
I've thought about doing that on the show because I've seen that movie once and I quite like it too.
Yeah, rewatching it recently because I sort of wanted to rewatch it after we did Killing of a Sacred Deer last week. Because I was like, oh, Colin Farrell's great. Let's watch another thing he's in. And watching that, I was just like, man, this movie is like my take on In Bruges, which I'll save further thoughts for if we ever do it on the show. But my take on In Bruges is kind of like, this is like the thing that Tarantino does done better. It's like a better version of that, you know? And I like Tarantino, but yeah. Anyway.
And it's a Christmas movie.
Much like
John Hillcoat's 2005 Australian Western, The Proposition.
Yes, The Proposition is a Christmas movie. Christmas in Australia, though, is in the middle of the fucking summer, so these motherfuckers are sweating. It is fun, I think, that Australia gets Christmas as a summer holiday. I would like to experience that at some point. Like, just do a Christmas down under.
Yeah.
And just be like, oh, yeah, this is like a grill holiday down here because it's like the weather's, well, not beautiful. It's oppressively hot, in fact. But, you know, it's outside weather. It's sitting on a porch and drinking beer weather. Anyway.
Yeah. So, yes, The Proposition.
Yes. This was your pick.
Yes. One of my favorite Westerns.
Okay.
Which may or may not influence my verdict at the end of this episode. But this is one that I've loved for years. I got into Westerns in high school after watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in a history class. A history of American music, film, and art class that was like this one-off class that the U.S. history teacher convinced the school to let him teach, and it was like the best class ever because we just watched movies and listened to music and talked about art, and it was rad as fuck.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
And we saw The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and I don't know, anytime I'm like worried that the kids are out of touch with art, I do just remember being in a class full of 16-year-olds watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and we're all like, yeah, this is the best fucking shit we've ever seen.
Yeah.
and stuff like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
And stuff like Citizen Kane too. But this is sort of where Western started, was with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for me. And then I just started exploring and finding different things. And I don't remember how I came across the proposition, but it was one that I probably found online.
I have an inkling of how you might have come across the proposition, which is that this movie is written by and has music by Nick Cave. Do you think that has anything to do with why you found it?
This was before I got into Nick Cave.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I didn't know. I had probably heard his name,
yeah,
but I did not know his music at all.
That's crazy, because like when I was sitting down and watching this movie, I was like, well, clearly David found this because he's a Nick Cave fan. But that's interesting that it predated your Nick Cave fandom.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
But yes, this is written by.
So you knew him as a screenwriter, before you knew him as a musician.
He's a composer. Yeah. Well, this movie comes about because John Hillcoat has a long-standing relationship with Nick Cave. They've been working together for years before even this movie came out, because Hillcoat is primarily a music video director. Like, he has an extensive music video credits, and he's worked with Nick Cave a lot. So they also worked together on his first film called The Ghosts of the Civil Dead, and another film that they're both very hard to find, very low budget. But Hillcoat was interested in making a movie about the landscape of Australia, about the outback, and about its history.
Yeah.
And thought about setting it during the colonial period and contrasting that with the American Western, and then came to Nick Cave about the music, and then was like, oh, by the way, can you write the movie too? This is Nick Cave's first screenwriting. Well, he has a screenwriting credit on Ghost of the Civil Dead, but this is his first sole screenwriting credit.
Yeah.
And then this also just kind of launches his career as a composer. He's composed tons of movies at this point.
Yeah.
And he's written for Hillcoat on some of his subsequent films, including Lawless.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting movie that I thought would be fun to talk about.
It is an interesting movie. Yeah. Without spoiling too many feelings on the movie in general, I will say, this being Nick Cave's first screenwriting gig ever, really he came out of the gate swinging. I think the screenplay in this movie is pretty good. I think this movie is quite well written.
Yeah.
Both how sort of the overall kind of story is constructed, and also just like the shit that the characters say. Like, the dialogue is very compelling and poetic, and it also sounds like Nick Cave wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he definitely has like a artistic stamp on the screenplay that if you're familiar with his music, you're like, oh yeah, okay, yes, I know what this is, right? Just pretty impressive effort from him. I didn't really know what to expect when I saw written by Nick Cave coming up in the opening credits, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's what this means. It means it's the vibe of his a lot of his music, but translated very well, in my opinion, to screenwriting.
Yeah, I think he's also written fiction. Like, he's a novelist too.
Yeah.
I've never read anything else that he's done outside of his music.
Yeah.
But yeah, these feel like characters from a Nick Cave song. This feels like a world as seen through the eyes of Nick Cave, a world sort of lost in time and in the midst of war and conflict and a changing a vastly changing political landscape.
And all sinners and no saints in this movie is really the thing, which feels very Nick Cave to me.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Basically being like, well, everybody's a piece of shit in some way.
Yeah.
So like, we all should, in some ways, I feel like that's always kind of the message of his music that I've engaged with, is like, we should all be a little kinder to each other because everybody's a piece of shit. Basically is sort of his like worldview. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of why I fuck with this guy, because I don't disagree necessarily. Everybody's a piece of shit in this movie, which, I love a movie where everyone's a piece of shit.
Yeah. Everyone's a piece of shit. Everyone smells like shit.
A lot of people look like shit.
This is another disgusting shit, people. Everyone.
Yes.
Everyone except maybe Emily Watson, and even
Yes.
then, you're still living in Australia in the middle of summer.
Yes, I think we do. I think we do have to give special commendation. It is a blanket disgusting shit person movie. I think special commendation goes to John Hurt in this movie, who, like, we'll talk about, but, like, he is the most disgusting of all the shit people in this movie, in my opinion. Partially because of how he looks and is behaving. And also just a lot of it is the racism. Because it's crazy that John Hurt's religion is racism in this movie. Because basically, like, Guy Pearce shows up, and one of the things they talk about in that great scene is he's like, hey, are you a praying man? And John Hurt's like, fuck no, I don't believe in God. What are you, stupid? And then he's like, oh, by the way, evolution's bullshit too, because I'm too racist to believe it. and so it's literally like he doesn't believe in God, he doesn't believe in evolution. He has chosen the forbidden third option, which is he worships racism.
And it's racism in colonial Australia, which is its own evil brand of racism.
It's like stinkier racism. Yes. Yeah. This movie starts with lots of shooting. The movie opens on a gunfight.
Yeah.
Which is a great way to open a Western.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that it's like chaos immediately. Like, it's all very frenetic. Like, you don't know who anybody fucking is yet. You're just seeing all these people like dodging bullets and like hearing people screaming, and yeah. It's just immediately lets you kind of know what you're in for with this movie, which is like, we're gonna be having sort of a bad time here.
Well, that really is cemented when we cut to the aftermath, and the bodies of the dead are lined against a wall, and there are two women who were in the gunfight and screaming, and it's like, yeah, they got fucking shot too, and they're lined up against the wall with all the other criminals.
Yes.
It's just like, yeah, this is a bad time and a bad place. And no one's really safe from it.
Yeah, I fear I would not thrive in colonial Australia. I fear I am too soft for this life. Yeah, it is sort of the movie letting you know, like, hey, you're gonna get attached to some of these people. That doesn't mean terrible shit isn't gonna happen to them. Like, terrible shit is going to happen in this movie. Yeah, so we like basically the opening gunfight is these brothers who were part of the Burns gang, which is kind of led by three brothers. These are two of the brothers who have just gotten captured by police, right?
Mm-hmm.
The British colonial police, right? And like immediately we have like a two-hander scene. Basically, there's three people in the scene, but Mikey's not doing a whole lot except whimpering.
Yeah, Mikey's been shot.
So it's really like an immediate two-hander scene between Guy Pearce as the middle Burns brother, whose name already has escaped me.
Charlie
Burns. Yes, I knew that. I got confused because later he says he's Charlie Murphy. Right.
Yeah, when he's talking
to John Hurt.
To John Hurt. Yeah.
Charlie Murphy. It's just anytime I hear Charlie Murphy, I just hear it in the Dave Chappelle, Rick James sketch voice.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Well, and also, you might think that this is Guy Pearce's movie based on the poster, but it's Ray Winstone's movie.
This is a Ray Winstone joint, ladies and gentlemen. Holy fucking shit. So, like, welcome back to the show, Ray Winstone. Last seen in our other Western, Rango. He's so fucking good in this movie.
I'm glad you think so.
Ray Winstone fucking rocks in this movie. And I've never seen him be like the lead before. I'm used to Ray Winstone popping up for a couple scenes, right? And being like, oh yeah, there he is. There's that guy. I love to see him. He's, one of my faves.
I imagine that anytime you walk into a pub in London, Ray Winstone's just in the background doing something like, Oi.
Like, yeah, just go into any of those werewolf pubs. foggy old England, and he's like sitting down at the back. I've got a tale to tell you. You don't be wandering in the moors at night. I have not seen him as a lead before, and he fucking kicks ass in this movie. He's so magnetic. He's like the character that I feel for the most, right? Where you're just like, man, this guy's like, he's also a piece of shit, but like he's trying, you know? He's like in this terrible world trying to like walk like a good and righteous path, and the world just keeps kicking him down, you know? And it's like, there's also shit with him where you're like, the movie doesn't shy away from it. It's like him and his wife have like an Aboriginal servant in their house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the movie doesn't shy away from that. It's like, no, this guy's also like a cog in this imperial machine. He's also perpetuating racism. He's sending out posses to go kill Aboriginal people. Like, he's not good, but he's like trying to be good. He knows he's not good, right? And he's trying to be good. And it's like, most other people in the movie aren't even doing that. So immediately your kind of pathos is kind of directed toward him, because you're like, at least this guy has a soul to lose, you know, as opposed to some of the other people in this movie.
Yeah, he's very hard-nosed and hard-edged. Like, he's what you want from a Ray Winstone performance.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in this scene. But then as the film goes along, he becomes a much more three-dimensional, complex, fleshed-out character. And you do end up identifying with him and empathizing with him more. He has to show, like, tenderness.
Yeah.
Which is not something I expect from Ray Winstone.
No, but he's really good at it in this movie.
Because he has to be a wife guy.
Yes.
And he is such a dedicated wife guy.
Yes.
Even if he is part of the British colonial police in Australia.
Yes. The thing that really endears you to him is just he's very sweet with Emily Watson. And Emily Watson must be protected at all costs. So you understand it. You're like, man, like, yeah, you protect your wife. You don't let her near this terrible world you're living in. You know?
Yes.
Some of it's coming from like sort of a patriarchal, perspective. But a lot of it is just he has genuine care for her and is like, I don't want the shit that the trauma that I have to deal with to impact you. Like, I want you to be separated from that, you know? And, you know, I get it, because Emily Watson is a beautiful, perfect, amazing, angelic woman in this movie.
If you were wondering what the proposition of the title was, don't worry, because you'll find out within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because
Ray Winstone literally says, I have a proposition for you.
And it's basically ride out into the outback and kill your brother.
Yes.
Or we'll hang Mikey on Christmas Day.
Yes, you gotta kill your older brother, or we'll kill your younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
And Guy Pearce rides off into the desert, and I like that. Because initially you're like, it seems like a pretty standard setup for, or if not standard, like at least a pretty comprehensible setup for a Western, right? Where you're like, okay, well, most of this movie is going to be him hunting down his brother to bring him back, either dead or alive, to ransom his younger brother. And initially, it seems clear that that's what Guy Pearce is going to do. And then the longer you follow Guy Pearce, you're like, oh, maybe I'm wrong about that. Like, maybe I don't have a read on this guy, and I don't know what he's going to do. Right. And I think that's a really interesting thing about this movie is it's like the ball starts rolling in a pretty normal way. And then you're like, you kind of lose track of the obvious, like, predictable thread. And you're like, I don't really know where this is going anymore.
Yeah. Even after this first act, most of Guy Pearce's dialogue vanishes from the movie. He is grunting. And like just looking, he looks like Jesus about 4 or 5 hours into hanging on the cross in this movie. Like, he's having a bad time.
He does do a lot of sitting and brooding in this movie. And not a lot of talking, which I think makes some of the key moments with him at the end hit pretty well, because
Right.
you're like, oh, finally I understand what this guy was thinking.
because he's such an enigma for most of the film.
Yeah. Which I really like. I like that that's sort of the approach that this movie takes with him, where you're kind of like, so much of the plot hinges on what this guy does, and I just don't really feel like I know who he is, in a good way.
Yeah.
But so Ray Winstone sends him off, and then we get some stuff in town, just kind of setting up like what this outback frontier town, British town is like. We get some stuff with Ray Winstone and his wife. This is Emily Watson, whose character name is Martha. Right, so he's the captain, the police captain.
Yeah, Captain Stanley.
Yes, Captain Stanley, Morris Stanley, and his wife Martha, and the home vignette that you get, where he doesn't really want to talk about work. It's weighing very heavy on him, and she kind of like cradles him like a baby. I was like, ooh, this is really working for me. Like, this is very sweet. This is like tugging on my heartstrings in a very good way. And it's one of those moments of tenderness from Ray Winstone, where you're like, oh, it's really cool to see him in this mode.
Yeah.
Where he's like, yeah, like soft, and where you can definitely see, you can start to see the interiority that we were talking about, like right from this scene. And it's just like, it's very nice. It's a very sweet little scene.
Yes, I enjoyed it a lot too. I love the discomfort that you see on his face as she's holding him and he's trying to figure out, because I mean, there's a couple things. It is like just like a physically uncomfortable sort of position that he's in, and he's also just like not used to being this vulnerable with someone, even his wife, even though they clearly have a loving relationship.
Yeah.
It is like, he is so dedicated to his job and is so often in that mode that he just doesn't know how to break down and open up.
Yes.
And that's sort of his journey throughout the movie, I think, until the worst thing in the world happens to him at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, really bad Christmas. We'll get to it. Yeah. So then, like, I don't know, Guy Pearce is fucking out in the outback and he meets John Hurt, and John Hurt is in fucking goblin mode in this movie.
This is my favorite John Hurt performance that I've seen.
I mean, have you seen The Elephant Man?
I have.
Okay, all right. Respect.
I adore every single second of John Hurt on screen in this film.
To be clear, so do I. I'm not going to necessarily say this performance is better than him as the Elephant Man, but I will say I love everything he's doing in this movie. I love his fucking ratty, greasy ass mullet. I love his disgusting teeth. I love him being just a total fucking freak weirdo.
Oh, we haven't mentioned it yet. This is a big yellow teeth movie.
This movie, you think people have bad teeth in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Those pirates got nothing on these fucking Australians. It is like, yeah, all of these dudes are going to be dead within 5 years anyway, regardless of the events of this film, just from horrific infections. Like, everybody's going to get like a dental infection and their teeth are going to rot out of their mouth. It's really horrendous shit, and I love it. In this scene, you get a look at Guy Pearce's teeth really for the first time.
Yeah.
Because he's smoking a cigarette talking to John Hurt, and it's like, man, his teeth are somehow even worse than John Hurt's. It's really gnarly. And everybody's so sweaty too, because it's like we're in the Australian outback.
Oh, yeah.
In the dead of summer, you know.
Everyone's dying a heat stroke, and their teeth are rotting out of their mouth, and they smell like pee-pee and poo-poo.
Fucking covered in flies. I truly cannot overstate how much everybody is fucking constantly covered in flies. But yeah, John Hurt is like, he's a bounty hunter, and he's trying to get a read on.
John Hurt is a bounty hunter. That's just such galaxy fucking brain casting. You know, like, of all the people for Charlie Burns to run into in this bar that's been it's been ravaged by an Aboriginal attack, like the bartender's got 3 fucking spears sticking out of him, like everyone's dead.
Yes.
Of all of the people to emerge from the shadows, it's John Hurt, and he's a bounty hunter,
Right.
and he's terrifying.
And he's been hanging out in this bar with these corpses for like days. And he's just like, oh, finally someone good to talk to. He's like a fucking little demon in this movie. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And this is where like they have sort of a philosophical conversation here. There's a lot of that in this movie because it's a Nick Cave script. So he's like, we're gonna do extreme violence, and then we're gonna kind of sit and talk about how we feel about existence. Which does lead me into just a thing that I noticed while I was watching this film. This is maybe the most David movie I have ever seen. I was watching this movie and I was like, okay, not only do I really get why he picked this, I think if I were to pick a movie to explain to somebody who did not know you what my friend David was like, I would be like, watch The Proposition. You'll kind of get his whole deal. Just because it's like, like the movies that you like, this has some of the like graphic, like over the top violence and like brutality and stuff. And then also it has like some of the like philosophizing and like existential pontificating where I'm like, this is sort of, it just feels like very like, it felt very you to me.
Well, it makes sense why Hillcoat is currently attached to do Blood Meridian.
Yeah.
Because Blood Meridian's been stuck in development hell for years, and Hillcoat's name is like the most recent one that's come up. Because he made The Proposition, which on its own sort of feels like the closest thing spiritually that cinema has gotten to Blood Meridian.
Right, it's Australian Blood Meridian, yeah.
And then he did The Road. So he's
Right.
already got a really violent Western and a Cormac McCarthy adaptation under his belt.
Yeah.
So might as well give him the most violent Western ever written.
Yeah.
And it was written by Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah.
Yes, this is very much a David movie.
I don't know. Guy Pearce knocks out John Hurt here.
I do like a lot of the racism towards Irish people.
Yes.
A lot of the Irish racist jokes.
Yes.
Where when John Hurt's like, I love the Irish. There's never been a finer race of potato peelers on the planet. I was like, oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, he is an equal opportunity racist.
Yes.
He is equally racist to Irish people and Aboriginal people. So I guess that's consistent, if nothing else. Yeah. And I like Guy Pearce being like, oh, I won't have you doing any of that Irish racism with me. I got this fucking 6-shooter pointed right at your dome. He's like a very soft talker in this movie, and I appreciate that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's just kind of like murmuring in this little brogue that he has going on. It's great.
Yeah. But yes, we love Jell and Lamb. We love John Hurt.
Jellin Lamb is also such a fucking... When he was like, my name's Jellin Lamb, I was like, yeah, it fucking is. Yeah. Love that guy. Love that absolute monster. That total piece of shit. They share a drink together, talk a little bit about On the Origin of Species, and then fucking Guy Pearce knocks him out.
Yeah. And it's clear that Jell and Lamb is out here hunting Arthur Burns as well. There's a lot of talk in this beginning of the movie sort of hyping up the mythology of Arthur Burns, which I really like, where he's like, no one will go near him. The Aboriginals are scared of him. They think he's a dog man.
Okay. When in that scene, because like that's also pretty close to this, we like check back in town, and there's like some Aboriginal like rebel forces who are resisting the British occupation, who have been captured, and they're like interrogating them, trying to find Arthur Burns. They're like, have you seen this white man on this wanted poster? And they all start doing the thing that you were just talking about, where they're like, oh yeah, he lives in a cave and he turns into a dog, and like he sprouts big ears and a tail and howls at the moon and shit. I didn't know anything about this movie going in. And when I tell you that for 15, 20 solid minutes, I was convinced this was gonna turn into a werewolf movie. Because that scene happens, and then there's a bunch of, like, photography of the full moon, like, after that, right? And I was like, oh, fuck, Arthur Burns is a werewolf. We're gonna get a werewolf Western.
No, Justice, this is not Bone Tomahawk with werewolves.
Unfortunately, it isn't. I sort of would like to also see that movie. I liked the movie I did get. I sort of also would like to see that alternate version of this movie where that scene happens and then the rest of the movie is just confirming that he is in fact a dog man.
No, the horror here is colonialism, buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry. Unfortunately, it is not. You got to deal with that.
Unfortunately, it is not a werewolf.
You kind of got to deal with the subjugation and genocide of the Aboriginals.
Yes, rather than a guy turning into a werewolf.
Yeah. Would love to see Danny Huston.
Yes.
His take on a werewolf performance, though.
Yeah.
Especially an Irish werewolf.
Yeah. Anyway, he's not a werewolf. He's just a guy. But I do like them building up his sort of the legend around him before you meet him. And I like that when you finally do meet him, it's sort of unceremonious the way the movie does it.
Yes.
He doesn't have like a big reveal or anything. It's like, no, he's just kind of there now, you know? And you meet him and you're like, this is the guy that everyone was saying was like this hulking monster who like lived like an animal and was so dangerous that like no one dared go near him, right? And you meet him and you're like, I don't know, this guy seems kind of like soft-spoken, intelligent, he seems like a poet. And then like later in the movie you start seeing the things that those legends are from, and you're like, oh no, this guy is a fucking monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't mentioned is that he's accused of the massacre of the Hopkins family.
Yeah.
And Charlie Burns passes by their burned, smoldering house
with a very pristinely preserved baby cradle in it, which I think is very funny that none of the fire or the ash or anything has touched this like pure white baby cradle. Just to be like very clear visual language that what they did was bad.
Yes, and it's clear that like the circumstances around it are sort of mysterious.
Yeah.
But we later find out that he did rape the mother.
Yeah, we know that it happened. They talk about like how Charlie and Mikey were like implicated in that part of it, but we don't actually know. Yeah, it is mysterious. We just know that it happened, that this family was killed and this woman was assaulted and that she was pregnant.
Yes.
So it's like a very horrible crime, but the movie never clarifies each individual member of the gang's involvement in it, which I think is good. That it's like you just don't know. You don't know what each of these motherfuckers did, you know? And the movie kind of lets you feel however you're going to feel about them, knowing that they were implicated to some degree in this thing.
Yeah. It sort of contributes to the film's overall, like, morally ambiguous violence.
Everybody's bad.
Yeah. And the fact that it never really explores the background of the crime all that much, I think adds to that.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah. Anyway, around here we meet Fletcher, the worst fucking guy who's ever lived.
Eden Fletcher, played by David Wenham. Faramir himself.
David Wenham in Carrie Elway's mode in this movie.
Sort of, yeah.
A lot of this performance, I was like, really kind of just doing a Carrie Elway's thing.
He's like a guy who's got like a 4-foot stick up his ass, but he started getting used to the stick being there.
Yeah, that's right.
That's just he's just so wound up.
He's such a piece of shit. Yeah, he's like coming in and dressing down Ray Winstone because he's like, oh, I've been hearing things about you, Captain. This is not how we run things in the Empire. No. You can't be letting Aboriginal people go. If you kill one of them, you have to kill all of them. You see, we're committing a genocide here. Yeah, he fucking sucks. And there's also some shit here where there's like murmurings among the other people on the police force who like report to Ray Winstone about how they're like unhappy that because the one sergeant knows that Ray Winstone let Charlie Burns go to go get Arthur. And he like disagrees with this decision, so he's kind of like sowing discontent among the ranks and being like, yeah, the captain's like a fucking pushover. He like let this criminal go, and like now he's just gonna be running loose because of him.
Yeah. The movie does a really good job setting up the rest of the police force as being like awful, terrible people.
No, yeah, they're like
who are incompetent,
right,
and just like
that one guy
would rather be drunk.
That one guy fucking shooting his own toes off.
Yeah.
It's so fucking funny because it's like I love that whole scene because it's like Ray Winstone and Emily Watson are like in bed, right? And like they hear a gunshot, and Ray Winstone, the fastest I have ever seen Ray Winstone move, leaps out of bed and like gets his gun because he thinks that they're like under attack. And he goes outside, and this fucking stupid ass cop on the force has just blown his own toes off. He's like, go back to bed, Martha.
He's running like he heard that a Guinness truck got flipped over.
Oh, the streets are flowing with ale. Running like he's chasing a sausage truck. Apologies to Ray Winstone. But I love you, sir.
But even from that scene, that earlier scene where it's where we're introduced to Martha, Emily Watson's character.
Yeah.
When she rides into town and meets him at the jail, and the sergeant and the other officers are like talking to her and saying hello to her. They're already like really fucking weird and skeevy, and you get bad vibes from them. They haven't done anything yet.
Yeah, everybody's just leering at her, which is like very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like Emily Watson also is, I think, in addition to Ray Winstone being phenomenal in this movie, I think Emily Watson, as per usual, she's like, in my opinion, one of our greatest living actresses. She is fucking incredible in this movie.
Yeah,
she's
think
so good.
It's she has a very I wouldn't say she has a thankless job.
No.
She has a very difficult job in this movie, and I think she accomplishes it very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then later's this scene where the sergeant's sowing discontent, and he's like, "Oh, I'd love to fuck that Emily Watson."
Yeah, when everybody's talking about the captain's wife, it's all very gross, and immediately you're like, "Oh, okay, so these guys they're operating under the authority of the British government, but they are fucking shitheels. Like the whole lot of them. Like,
yeah,
all of these guys are fucking reprehensible scumbags." You know, there's the one guy who's like passed out drunk, who's got the Abe Lincoln chin strap beard. I love that fucking piece of shit. He wakes up to tell everyone how horny he is for another man's wife, and they're all like, "Oh, shut the fuck up and go back to sleep, you cunt." Yeah. And around here, Guy Pearce gets speared. This moment of this movie is truly incredibly shocking, because I had never seen this movie before. I had no idea where it was going, didn't know anything about it going in, and like Guy Pearce, ostensibly like one of the dual protagonists of this movie, has been, trying to track down his brother Arthur. We think he's getting kind of close now. We're getting towards the middle of the movie, and he's just standing there, and all of a sudden a spear just fucking goes through his whole body. And it's so quiet too. It's just kind of like,
yeah. It's all in that one shot.
Yeah.
Well, and every time we check back in with him, it is so much of this movie is Guy Pearce riding through the outback.
Yep.
Sort of stumbling around, drinking on his horse,
waving
his gun around,
eating food next to a campfire. When he's eating he like kills like a kangaroo or something and is eating it by the campfire. I was like, that looks so fucking good. Dudes rock so fucking hard.
I thought you might bring that up, and I was like, I don't know, that looks kind of stringy and gamey. I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, is it time for another installment of What? Wait. Would you eat the? Let's knock a few of these out here in this movie.
Okay.
Would you would you eat the campfire kangaroo? I think you already indicated that you maybe wouldn't.
Probably not. I
Okay.
mean, we're in that situation. I guess, beggars can't be choosers, but it did not. The idea of eating meat off the bone near a campfire very much appeals to me.
Yeah.
But this just did not look particularly appetizing to me.
I thought it looked quite tasty, so I would definitely eat it. Now another one that I have for you: would you eat the trauma soup that Ray Winstone offers Emily Watson later in the movie, where she has seen a man get whipped to the verge of death, and then he's offering her what appears to just be totally clear broth. Oh, you gotta eat something. I got you this broth. It's mostly bone. It's mostly bone and salt.
Probably not, especially after watching a man getting whipped half to death.
Yeah. I was not super. I didn't think the trauma broth looked particularly appealing either.
I don't think we're going to McDonald's after that, but I definitely need something that's gonna warm me up, and something more comforting than that.
Now
Something fun. I'm gonna treat myself.
That's true. You really want I mean, speaking of a meat pie western, something nice and hearty and comforting, like a meat pie after watching a man after watching a man be whipped within an inch of his life. So last and least climactic, the home cooking of Martha Stanley in this movie is photographed gorgeously in a way that made me so fucking hungry. I am assuming that this is going to be a hard yes from both of us, but just to touch on this food, there's the poached eggs and bacon that she brings.
Oh yeah.
That she brings the Captain Stanley in one of the early scenes, where I was like, that looks so fucking good. So that's a hard yes for me. And then of course the Christmas dinner at the end. That turkey looks so good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
If I was an outlaw breaking into this house and I had to hold a woman hostage for a few minutes,
yeah, I'd also be ripping off a drumstick.
I'd be like, I'll sneak a few bites before the terrors unfold.
Yes, I get where Samuel's coming from with only that part of that scene. With eating the turkey.
God.
Yes. Anyway, this has been Would We Eat This? Should we stop doing that bit? You looked annoyed when I decided to do it.
No, I was just a little surprised. I didn't feel like there was enough prominent food in this film.
To me, this was a big food movie because I kept noticing those the aforementioned foods.
Okay. But yes, the build up to Charlie getting speared, all of this beautiful landscape photography, and him eating and living off of the land. I do wish there was 10 more minutes of this in this movie.
I do too, yeah.
Because it's all gorgeous.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets fucking speared into the ground.
Yes.
And cannot move.
I like him leaning backwards and the tip of the spear just hits the ground and he's like, oh fuck. Yeah.
And he's been speared by an Aboriginal tribe.
Yes.
And then half of an Aboriginal man's head explodes.
Yes. And then hard cut to black, which again, it's so jarring in the movie. You're like, oh fuck. And I think that the movie does a really good job of evoking that feeling. The purpose is to make the violence in the movie feel as jarring as the violence would feel in real life, which I think is a thing that this movie does pretty well. The violence happens suddenly, it's very extreme, it's very graphic, and the movie doesn't warn you that it's coming.
Yeah.
Because you are supposed to kind of feel the way that the characters feel about it, which is oh, well, what the fuck, right?
Yeah, you did use the word over the top earlier. I wouldn't say it. I say that. I mean, it is extreme.
Yeah.
But it does strike me as realistic.
Yeah, you're probably
and probably over the top from what one would expect from a Western.
Right.
But I don't think there is a moment of violence in this movie that crosses over into being excessive.
Yeah, I
or
think
exploitative.
Right. I think it's earned largely. Yeah. Anyway, so then Guy Pearce is getting mended His spear hole has a bunch of leaves and shit in it. And he has fallen back in with the Burns gang. We
Yes.
find out that the guy whose head exploded was shot by the Burns gang, and they're rescuing Charlie.
Mhm.
And it's interesting that the Burns gang is like a multi racial and multi-gender group. They like sort of are like the most diverse faction in the entire movie, which is like interesting. I don't think it necessarily means anything. It's just kind of weird. And then when Arthur's talking about them like as a family later, it's like, yeah, I sort of see that, because they're kind of like found family. They've sort of cobbled themselves together, and they're all clearly from different backgrounds and stuff. And at the same time, it's like, that's sort of sweet and endearing. And at the same time, it's like, they're also all fucking psychos. You know?
This movie, in addition to being one of my favorite genres, which is a yellow teeth movie, and also being a Western, which is another one of my favorite genres, it's also a movie with a Colonel Kurtz type.
Yes.
So Arthur Burns fulfills that.
Yes.
He is the man who is the outlaw who has abandoned civilization and has his own moral code and philosophy, and is very well educated, and is also a psychopath.
Yes.
And our main character is ordered by authorities to go and kill him. And in addition to this having my favorite John Hurt performance, this has my favorite Danny Huston performance.
Yeah. See, that one I think I am more on board with, because I really fuck with him in this movie. And I don't really know that I've been struck this hard by another Danny Huston performance.
I think that's part of it, too. I think
Yeah.
I have never seen him be this good.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's really scary in this movie, which is not a mode that I have necessarily seen him in, where I'm like, oh fuck, he's terrifying. Yeah. He's like very soft spoken, like Guy Pearce, right? They're both kind of like muttering to each other here in this first scene that we see them interact. But it like immediately you get a vibe from him where it's like, okay, he's not really buying Charlie's bullshit story about how, Molly O'Connell or whatever her name is, O'Donnell, whatever it is, swept our little brother Mikey off his feet, and he's off living happily.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you can tell that he doesn't really buy it, but the fact that he's like not calling him on his bullshit yet, you're like, oh, this guy is like fucking, he's like, you can see the wheels spinning, and it's like, this is bad, yeah. It immediately just introduces a lot of tension.
He's bringing so much that's not on the page for this character.
Yeah, totally.
He has such a presence in this movie anytime that he's on screen. He's soft-spoken and romantic, and sees sort of, you kind of see him as like a warrior poet.
Yeah.
And then he commits some of the most horrible acts of violence in this movie. And we see him through Charlie's eyes, but we don't get a ton of Charlie's we don't get a ton of interiority to Charlie's character, because he is just so he's healing for most of this, and he is just so quiet and not really engaged. But you can kind of see all of the qualities that Charlie probably loves and loathes about his brother.
Yes.
In this performance. And also, dude, Danny Huston's like towering over everyone in this movie.
He's enormous.
He is huge. He's a hulking beast of a man.
Yeah. I think I have never been more aware of his size than in this movie, which is one of the reasons that I think I found him scarier in this movie than I ever have before, because I don't think I had seen that weaponized in quite this way before, where I was like, man, that motherfucker's big as hell.
There's also the woman, her name's Queenie, who heals Charlie. She doesn't have a ton to do in this movie.
Yeah.
But we also have Samuel.
Yes.
Who is a young Irishman in the group.
Yeah.
Who's it seems like is kind of the new kid on the block.
Yes. It almost sounded like you were going to say the new Mikey, and I feel like that is actually the vibe.
Yeah.
I think Arthur is like trying to replace his youngest brother.
Yeah, it's clear that Arthur's taken him under his wing and
Yes.
has a strong affection for him.
Yes. He has him singing little songs, and he's like, oh, he's got the voice of an angel.
Mhm.
And Samuel is bad news. This
Yes.
this kid is not good. They're all bad, but like Samuel is like, he's a very interesting character to me because when you're introduced to him and he's hanging out with the gang, you're like, oh, this guy's kind of like a little rascal. But then he says a lot of shit that's like really racist. Like everyone in this movie is saying racist shit because it's colonial Australia. All the white people are racist. But he is like taking it to a degree where you're like a little bit more like, oh yeah. And then like as the movie goes on, you're like, oh, this kid is like a sadist. It seems like to me, right? Where it's like, oh, he's like fucking, there's something, wires are crossed in his brain and like he's not okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think this is a tremendous performance. I think
Yeah.
this is another great performance in this
It is
movie.
good.
Tom Budge is the actor's name, and he has the sort of face that I feel like I've seen him in other films in other places, but this is the only thing I've seen him in. Taking a look at his filmography,
Yeah.
But it's just another great standout performance in this film.
You know what? You know what his vibe sort of is a little bit? He's a little bit like if Jimmy from Peter Jackson's King Kong was like, instead of taken under his wing by Mr. Hayes, like an upstanding, working class guy, if he was taken under the wing of well, I guess Arthur Burns, right? It's like he just has the wrong father figure, right? But I feel like they're like the same kind of guy.
Yeah.
And if they did a lore drop like they do for Jimmy, where it's like, oh yes, I found Samuel in a cage living like a dog.
He was raised by dingoes.
Right. You'd be like, well, okay, yeah, that tracks. I get that energy from this guy. Yeah.
And then we have Bob, who's an Aboriginal as part of the gang.
I really like that guy.
I like him too.
He's my favorite member of the Burns gang, probably. Because I'm like, this guy feels like he's maybe not as much of just a full-on psycho as the rest of these guys. I think he truly is just kind of in it for the money, where he's like, I gotta make a living somehow.
Also, it seems like they're doing okay up there.
Yeah.
In the hills.
Yeah, they're chilling.
They're just hanging out and sleeping and singing and hanging out by the campfire, not a care in the world.
Yeah, and it kind of does. It is a little romantic, right? This is sort of like a idealistic existence to some extent. Everybody has terrible dental hygiene, but otherwise it seems kind of nice, right? And I think that that's a very intentional thing in this movie, where it kind of shows you that side of them, sort of the romantic version of this outlaw life, and lets you kind of get a little emotionally invested in even in Arthur, right? Where you're like, maybe this guy's not so bad. Maybe all the shit that they're saying about him is like wrong, And then the movie goes on and you're like, oh no, he is bad. And the romantic side of the outlaw life here is just lending a little bit of moral gray to this character who otherwise would be just straight up like a total villain. It like lets you give a little bit of a shit about him without the movie like forgiving him for his crimes.
Yeah. He's definitely painted as a romantic figure who's tried to find his own life and start his own sense, find his own sense of like civilization outside the bonds of normal society.
Yeah.
But you sort of come to realize that he is just a product of the same colonial civilization that he's rebelling against.
Right, that's the exact thing, right? Because he's trying to find his own little slice of paradise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where nobody can tell him what to do and he can live completely free. But he has to do it at the expense of other people, which is like, that's the colonial machine. Like, that's exactly, yes, because he was socialized by colonial powers, right? And so it's like, well, how do you get your own little slice of paradise? How do you live totally free? And it's like, well, you gotta fucking kill anyone who tries to let you not do that. Yeah, I was picking up on that thematically as well, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, these are basically all just different types of colonizers.
Yeah.
You have the Fletchers of the world who are like the pencil pushing bureaucrats who kind of like are the driving force behind the whole thing. But then there's like these blue collar racists who do the actual dirty work of like genocide, right? And then there are the people who try and opt out of the system but can't escape it, like Arthur, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And around here is the whipping scene where they whip Mikey in the town square.
Yes, because Fletcher is pissed off because he learns that Stanley let Charlie go. So this is kind of his power move, to let everybody know who's in charge.
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah. It's making an example out of Stanley and making an example that we're not going to tolerate crime in these parts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about civilizing the land.
Yes.
That's very, very,
yes.
very pointed talk that I think is very well done.
And I think Ray Winstone is the one who delivers that line most of the time. He's like, I will civilize this land.
Yeah.
And it is a thing with him where you're like, you do kind of get endeared to him, but also you remember him saying that shit, and you're like, this guy is also a huge part of the problem. He's a sympathetic figure as a human being, but his position in the institution of colonialism is still like he's still like a net negative. you know but yeah, he tries to do the right thing here by not letting anybody in to pull Mikey out into the town square and whip him. And the reason that he's standing up for him, we haven't really alluded to this, but Mikey has some sort of it's an ill-defined mental or developmental disability, right? And I think, in contrast to some of the movies that we have covered on this show before that handle this in a very bad way, I kind of think this movie handles it okay, right? Where watching this, I didn't get the ick that I get from Jeremy Strong and the Judge, for example. Right? Where I was just like, okay, it feels like they're not dwelling on it too much. They're not like drawing too much attention to it. It is maybe potentially slightly problematic that it basically the function that it serves is as like a plot engine, right? But at the same time, I'm like, you could do worse. than this.
Yeah, I don't think the actor is playing the mental illness. He's
right.
playing something else.
Yes.
And then anything else that's going on with Mikey is not the main focus of the performance.
Yes.
It's just a little flavor in there. And
yes.
I think you do have to become endeared. You have to become endeared to Mikey a little bit.
He's really the only one that you can fully root for in this movie. I mean, I know that he participated in the horrible crime, right? And we don't really know to what extent. But at the same time, it's like what Ray Winstone says, because like Captain Stanley, when he's standing up for him, he's basically like, I don't think he knew what he was doing. Like, yes, I know that he participated in the massacre of the Hopkins family.
Yeah.
I don't think he like was mentally competent and like made his own decisions, right? And it's like, you as the viewer kind of do believe that from what you've seen of Mikey, right? You're like, oh yeah, I kind of agree. And so he is really the one where you're like, well, I hope everything turns out okay for Mikey, which, like, spoiler alert, but it fucking doesn't.
But like you said, in 5 years, those teeth are going to fall out of his mouth anyway.
That's right. He'd have died from sepsis or some shit.
Or a drop bear got him.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's any number of things in Australia that can kill you.
Yeah, fucking spiders the size of your hand. Horrible island full of monsters. And most of them are just white humans.
Well, and that's another thing about this movie is there's a lot of talk about Australia as this godforsaken, lawless place.
Ray Winstone literally says, Australia, what fresh hell is this? I love when movies about Australia are like, it fucking sucks here.
But what I like about it is not only does the movie do a really good job convincing you of that fact.
Yeah.
Where like it's just it's just a desolate, lawless, violent wasteland.
Full of flies.
It's so many flies, just flies up the wazoo. While being very beautifully photographed and beautiful in its own way.
Yeah.
It's also just like a land that was made that way by colonialism.
Yes.
And that all of the characters in this movie are men without a country.
Yeah.
People who have been taken from their homelands either by force or by their occupation. Or they're the Aboriginal folks in this movie who have had their land stolen from them.
Yeah.
And I think that just contributes so well to the morally gray atmosphere of this film.
Yeah.
And I love the way that it plays into the themes of colonialism too. It's just like it is just so perfectly constructed. Like it's just kind of a perfect storm of setting, characters, writing, and tone.
Yeah.
For me.
And Captain Stanley does not succeed in keeping Mikey from being whipped.
Mikey gets whipped.
Yeah.
The punishment's 100 lashes.
Yes.
And he passes out after about 35 of them.
Yeah, they get to like 38, and then it's like, well, he's basically dead now. So, so a few things in the sequence that I like.
Yeah.
First of all, the sequence is hard to watch. It is very upsetting.
Yes.
The whipping sequence. It's really bad. But really bad complimentary. I think they handle it very well because like it never goes to your previous point. It never goes into exploitative territory where it's like hard to watch because they're just presenting you with horrible imagery, which would feel cheap. It is hard to watch because they are doing a lot emotionally to like make it challenging for you, which is like there's the beautiful song going over it.
Yeah, we're cross-cutting with Steven singing like an Irish song.
Yes.
At the camp.
Right. So he's singing this like old Irish song, and also a lot of when the whipping is happening, a lot of what you're seeing is the reactions of the people in the crowd. And I love that like all of these fucking filthy, horrible people who live in this shitty settler town in Australia, like none of them feel good about like this is what they all wanted. They were standing outside the prison being like, send him out here so we can whip him. And then the whipping starts and none of them are happy about it.
Even Emily Watson, because she was friends with Emily Hopkins and finds out that she was raped.
Yeah.
And she wants to watch this guy get whipped. By the end of it, she faints.
Even at the beginning of it, she doesn't look happy.
Yeah.
She's sort of like, oh, I'm getting revenge for what this guy did to my friend, and like I don't feel good. Like revenge doesn't actually feel good. Is immediately the vibe in this scene. And then it just continues and then everybody just starts leaving. They're like, this fucking sucks. Right? And then I really like Ray Winstone grabbing the whip from the guy who was doling out the punishment and like shoving it in Fletcher's face and being like, if you want to get to 100 lashes, you fucking do it, bitch.
Yeah.
Like it's a really great moment.
Yeah. I love this sequence too. It's hard to watch. It never becomes gratuitous or exploitative. It never does the Passion of the Christ thing where we're just watching a man be whipped for 5 minutes straight and the flesh peel from his back.
Yes. Body horror film, The Passion of the Christ.
God. The Jesus Christ Chainsaw Massacre.
I've never seen it, and I don't really intend to. Just
terrible film.
Yeah.
Anyway. But we're shooting the whipping from the front, so we don't see a lot of gore. We just see the actor's performance, and the actor's performance is so good. He does such a good job at this.
You only get like one shot of his back,
right? And it's a really brief shot.
Yep.
And then the close up on the guy clean, like squeezing the blood
into the puddle of it that's already on the ground
from the whip. Yeah, that's a gorgeous, disgusting little shot.
Yeah,
in this movie.
Hard. It goes hard in a sad way.
And I also love there's tons of flies in this movie. Tons of flies in this scene.
Yes.
There's a lot of just like dozens of flies just like on the backs or on a guy's hat.
Yes.
And that feels like its own sort of visual metaphor.
Right. Where it's like the
way.
rot that has taken root in this community. Basically like this society
Mhm.
is decaying,
Yeah,
right? And the
yeah.
flies are feasting on what's left.
Yeah,
It's sort of how it feels.
Everyone is implicated in the the rot of colonialism.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Word. Yeah, so not so good to be Mikey because he's basically almost dead after the whipping, which, like Ray Winstone says before they do it, he's like, "You're gonna kill him if you do that." And so then like the stuff that happens in town after the whipping is mostly Ray Winstone and Emily Watson, and Emily Watson is like fully traumatized by having seen this and also just learning what happened to her friend. This is all weighing very heavily on her. She won't eat. She's having dreams about her dead friend with a baby. All of that stuff I think is really nice. It's some of my favorite, not some of, my favorite parts of this movie are the scenes that are just Ray Winstone and Emily Watson. I really like everything where it's just them at home talking about how all of this has affected them.
Yeah, it's a lot of my favorite stuff in this movie too. My favorite's still Gel and Lamb. I think the Gel and Lamb scene is still my favorite, but otherwise, yeah, all the Ray Winstone and Emily Watson stuff. And I love the scene where she's in the bath.
Yes.
The bath tub telling him about the dream.
Yeah.
And we're mostly just shooting her from the back, and it's like her hands are in focus and she's like looking at her hands.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really love the way that sequence in the film is shot.
Yeah, I love the way it's shot too, and I love how they managed to get a really good performance out of Emily Watson. Like Emily Watson delivers a good performance, and the way that they shoot it allows the performance to still come through, even though you can't see her face.
Yeah, even though her back's to the camera.
Yes,
yeah, I was thinking that too.
It's just it's a good mix of very strong filmmaking choices and a really strong performance from an actor, where it's like, oh yeah, you can get a compelling character performance on screen without even having a person's face. It's good. Yeah.
We haven't talked about the music yet.
No, we haven't, and we should, because it was composed by screenwriter Nick Cave. How do you feel about the music in this movie?
Yeah, this is Nick Cave and Warren Ellis.
Yeah,
his longtime collaborator. I mean, I think the music's fucking awesome, dog. I think it's so good.
Yeah. It's one of the highlights of the movie for me, for sure.
Yeah.
A good score generally shouldn't draw attention to itself, I think. There are some moments of this movie where the score did stick out to me, like rather than just setting the tone or underscoring what was happening, I was fully getting absorbed in the music and being like, ooh, this piece of music separate from what's happening on screen is really sucking me in. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. It's maybe not like what most film scores strive to do. But I think most of the moments in this movie, the music is very seamlessly tied in with like the visuals and stuff.
Yeah.
And I love all of the music. I love the recurring motif that happens every time we go back to town. And it seems like it gets a little slower and more discordant as the movie goes on, which I love. And I love all the droning guitars and stuff. It's great.
Yeah, there's a kind of a lurching repeated theme with like some percussion in the background for a lot of the like writing scenes that sort of feels like it would be the type of thing you'd hear in a neo western.
Yeah.
But then there's also other stuff like some of the pieces that have Nick Cave's vocals to it, and he's doing like the whisper vocals in the background that's like very sort of gentle and beautiful,
right?
And magical in its own way.
Yes, and I like it. And also, some of that stuff does seem like someone parodying Nick Cave. Just when it's like, "No," said the snake as he looked up on the moon.
It is occasionally a tad distracting.
Right.
Because I think about Nick Cave just getting right up to the microphone and doing that in the
Yes.
studio somewhere.
Yes, said the coyote, or whatever the fuck he's doing. You know, like a lot of those moments I was like, okay, like I like this. And also, if someone wanted to make fun of Nick Cave, that's how they would do it. It's like straying almost into self-parody territory, but still doing a good enough job of making music that he gets away with it, I think.
Yeah. And it makes sense that John Hillcoat comes from directing music videos, because I think for most of this movie he does a very good job pairing music to his images.
Yeah.
And in a lot of those scenes where there's not a ton of dialogue happening and we're cutting between a lot of like landscape shots or whatever, it's all really, really well done.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Round here, Arthur. So some stuff has happened where like they sent out the police have sent out folks to go kill some Aboriginal people on the orders of Fletcher, who sucks a bag of donkey dicks. And they hear the gunshots from this in Arthur's camp. And then like shortly after that, Arthur is finally like, okay, like I know that my brother coming back was not what he said it was, right?
Yeah.
I'm now hearing the cops are fucking purging a bunch of people in the hills. Some shit's going down, and we gotta move out of these caves, basically. And so he goes to get his brother Charlie a horse. And this is where, like, we meet the real Arthur Burns, I feel like, in this scene.
The scene where he stomps a man to death.
Like, he's fucking Michael Myers in the Halloween remake? Yes. Yes, he fucking stomps the shitty sergeant.
Yes, the shitty sergeant.
Yes, the shitty sergeant who betrayed Ray Winstone. So it is a very rewarding death. Like, even though you're like, oh fuck, Arthur Burns, you're not the warrior poet I thought you were. You're actually a monster. It's also like, well, at least this monster's killing this fucking sack of shit. Because man, fuck that guy. I love when Arthur has the gun on him, and he's like, if you shoot me, 8 other dudes will be out here with guns. Like, you'll be outnumbered. And he's like, oh yeah, good point. And he puts the gun away and takes out a huge knife. And the sergeant's like, oh fuck, never mind. All right. Can we go back to the gun, please?
I do like that he doesn't kill him with the knife. He decides to stomp his head in.
Yeah.
I think it's because, what does he say? I think he tells Arthur that they whipped Mikey half to death.
Yeah. And I think the sergeant also, in trying to save his own life, does tell him that Charlie was sent to kill him.
Yeah.
Which I think the movie is ambiguous about it. I think Arthur kind of already had put together. Like,
yeah.
I sort of think this sergeant isn't telling him anything he didn't already know, you know, but he's trying to save his own skin. And I think that's one of the reasons that the Mikey thing, I think you're right, is the thing that gets him really mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he turns this guy's head into pulp. And it rocks. It's like, this is one of the only moments of violence in this movie that I feel like the movie allows you to relish a little bit, because it is a character you don't like, right? And you are kind of like, oh, fuck yeah. And then you're also like, also, now I feel different about Arthur, though. Like, he is a dog man. I get it.
Well, and this is also followed up with, as they're leaving, Jocko, who's an Aboriginal man who's been working with the authorities.
Yeah, he's like one of the cops.
Yeah, he's got his throat slit, and he's leaned up against the outside of the stable or what have you, where they kill the sergeant. And Toobab sort of throws a quip at his dead body.
Yeah, he says like, you're free now.
Yeah,
which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah,
right?
it's a very interesting exchange.
Yeah,
that happens.
Yeah, it is. That moment stuck out to me too, because it is sort of like, you know, this movie's sort of bleak and punishing, and that line sort of is like a pretty bleak take on the options that colonized people have, right? Where it's like, you can either collaborate and be on the side of the law and betray your own people, or you can become a criminal, right? When the law is, people who look like this have to behave this way, and that's an unjust law, right? Then either you get on the side of the law and betray your fellow people, or you have to live life as a outlaw and deal with those consequences, right?
Yeah. And we're two white American men
That's right.
critiquing a movie written and directed by white Australian men
That's right.
who did seek out a lot of guidance from the Aboriginal community.
Yeah.
Where they were shooting on sacred lands, so they had to take that into consideration with when they were filming.
Yeah.
It seems like they did put a lot of effort into making sure that Aboriginal people in Australia were depicted accurately in this film. I do sort of wish there was a stronger Aboriginal presence in the movie.
Yes, I'm glad you said that, because that's the thing that I had planned to mention as well. Yes, this movie is the main plot of this movie is mostly different factions of white settlers up against each other. So it makes sense from a narrative perspective why there isn't like a stronger focus on the Aboriginal characters.
Yes.
But the specter of colonialism looms so large in this movie, and I think has so much to do with what this movie is doing thematically, that it feels like it would have benefited from a stronger focus on that particular piece of this puzzle, right? Like if we had spent a little bit more time with the Aboriginal characters that the movie does present us with, I feel like it might have given us a little bit more insight into the themes that the movie is trying to communicate.
Yeah. I would have loved a few more scenes with the characters that are already in the movie.
Right. Like Toby, who works for Ray Winstone and
the servant
and Emily Watson. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
the servant in their house, and it's like we get a few moments with Toby, and I'm like, I kind of wish we got more with him, so that I knew more about like what is his interior life like, what are his, what's his kind of take on everything that's happening here,
Yeah, because as an American, there are a lot of parallels with this story that I can draw to the American West,
Right,
obviously,
of
and I
course.
think that's something that the film's aware of and something that the film is playing up.
Yeah.
If there's something that I'm missing, it is just a little bit more of what makes this story unique to Australia, what
Right.
makes it an Australian, a story of colonialism in Australia and how it affects the Aboriginal people. Because I've been to Australia before, and the story of Aboriginal rights and the plight of the Aboriginal people in Australia is shares a lot in common with the stories of Native peoples in America.
Yeah.
And it's also something that we're not exactly familiar with.
Yeah.
And it has its own different. There's a lot of other things that have happened there that as Americans we don't know about.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I also wanted to touch on that. So while they're stealing Charlie a horse and stomping that guy's head in, John Hurt comes back for his second scene in the movie, where he shows up at the camp and like ties up Samuel and is like he's gonna bring Guy Pearce in for the bounty, right?
Yeah, he hog ties both of them, and he's like, "Not so my specialty."
Yes. I like that he's like when he's tying up Guy Pearce, he's like, "You got one over on me before because I was drunk, but now I'm working, so I'm sober." it's just so good. And then Arthur and Tubob, is that the character?
Tubob is the
Tubob. They come back and just immediately murk John Hurt. Like he just immediately gets killed. And I also like him. He quotes some poem or something, and Arthur kind of finishes the quote, and he's like, "Yeah, too bad I don't give a shit about you though," and like pushes his body over. It's great.
Yeah.
Good shit.
I love seeing it. Does hard cut to John Hurt just screaming in Guy Pearce's face.
Yes.
Which is a little terrifying.
It is like truly a jump scare, because the scene before that I think is like kind of a quiet scene between Emily Watson and Ray Winstone, and then immediately from there it like hard cuts, jump scare, John Hurt the hollering, being like, "Ah!" And yeah, so R.I.P. R.I.P. Jell and Lamb. We hardly knew you, but we loved you despite your whole vibe.
This movie is truly like has several several actors who just show up, do a couple scenes, and then leave the movie.
Yeah.
And leave a strong impression on you, because David Wenham scenes are basically done too. Like, he has
Right.
one more scene at the end of this film where he has no dialogue, where he comes across his officers like beheaded in
Yes.
Mikey's cell. But like,
And he's
David
like-
Wenham leaves a huge
Yeah.
impression on you. John Hurt leaves a huge impression on you.
He's like, oh, my stars. He doesn't say that, but that's how
the
I
vibe.
imagine he would react to seeing
Yeah.
those guys beheaded.
That's about where we are as
Yes.
they ride into town dressed as officers who have captured Bob.
Yes.
Um,
They try to pull the where are you taking this Wookiee thing
Yes.
from Star Wars.
I'm sure Star Wars wasn't the first place, the first movie that did that. I'm sure it's a
First
thing.
one I saw.
I do love Steven just yelling at Bob and being like,
Yeah. Am I
"Stay
doing
back, folks!"
Yes, and then he turns around to Arthur and he's like, "Am I doing good racism?" And Arthur's like, "Yes, Sergeant." I do like that this is a movie where everyone sucks and no one is good at anything.
Right.
You know this about me, that I like a movie where everyone is incompetent. Green Room is one of my favorite examples of that.
I love a crime movie
Yeah.
where everyone is incompetent at doing crime.
Yes.
And Westerns are more or less crime movies. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And this is very much a movie like that, where like kind of everyone sucks at everything in this movie. Nothing really goes how anyone plans. Like, what the ultimate results of what happens in this movie wasn't anyone's ideal scenario, you know? But yeah, so they're doing a jailbreak, they're getting Mikey out. They pull the whole like, oh, we're cops act until they get into the jail, and then they just immediately start fucking like beating the other cops. And I like them making fun of the guy for pissing himself. That's
Yes.
the same guy who shot his toes off.
Aw.
that guy's a real rough go of it.
He's had a rough week. He's had
Yeah.
a rough Christmas week.
That's fine. He it's all over for him because he's one of the dismembered corpses, so he won't have to suffer anymore. But yeah, they bust Mikey out, but due to the flogging, he's like on death's door. And then they split off into groups. So like Arthur and I think Two Bob's with Guy Pearce. So like Two Bob and Guy Pearce and Mikey are off in one direction, and then Arthur and Samuel are off in another direction.
Samuel. Have I said? I think I've
You've
said,
been
I've said
saying
Steven.
Steven. You've been saying Steven.
It's Samuel.
I didn't correct you because honestly, I didn't remember very well what his name was. Samuel, Steven, whatever.
Sorry.
Some Irish name.
I really like. He's a good character. He's the creepy Irish guy who sings and then
Yeah.
rapes Emily Watson.
That's
So
well, I think he doesn't fully get there, which I think is a good thing. But anyway,
attempted rapist.
yes.
Of Emily Watson.
Yes. If it,
Sorry.
yes. Anyway, so they go off, and when we check in with Charlie and Two Bob, Mikey has like already died.
Yeah, he's dyed his arms
Yeah.
and they bury him.
Yeah, they bury him in rocks.
I like that scene a lot. I think
like-
it's very well shot.
I like the rock burial.
Rock burial, yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. And then it's Christmas dinner.
Yes. We've had some stuff with Emily Watson, like kind of turning a corner in her, like, I'm fully traumatized, I don't even want to eat. She's like turned a little bit of a corner, and she's like, okay, maybe we can get back to some semblance of normalcy here. Maybe me and my husband can still build a nice little life for ourselves. So she's prepared for Christmas. She ordered them a Christmas tree. She's got ornaments and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they send the servant Toby away because they do have an inkling that now that the jailbreak has happened, it's basically all over for them. Sort of the vibe of this Christmas dinner is like, let's have one nice day.
Right.
Because the townspeople are going to come and fucking kill us.
Well, and yeah, and there have been scenes before with Ray Winstone's boarded up the house. He's very much like paranoid that someone's gonna show up.
He's preparing for an assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah,
he's got a bunch of guns. Yeah,
Night of the Living Aussies.
Yes. And so the vibe of Christmas is very much like, all right, like everything has gone to hell. We're probably like, he probably thinks he's gonna get arrested and go to jail because he let all those criminals go. you know. And so they're kind of just like, all right, we'll spend some nice time together. They send Toby away. He takes off his shoes, which is an interesting thing, and I'm not really sure what that means. I don't know what the if there's a cultural meaning or just some symbolism there that I was missing. But when Toby leaves, he takes off his shoes and socks and leaves them there.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice that.
But then they're sitting down for dinner with this delicious looking turkey, and Danny Huston busts down the door like the fucking Kool-Aid man and drags Ray Winstone into his study. And then you just hear off camera Ray Winstone being beaten within an inch of his life, while Emily Watson sits at the table with fucking Psycho Samuel, and he just eats turkey and asks her to read him the card from the Christmas tree and shit. And it's like, it was reminding me of like the Rob Zombie Firefly family movies. They try to accomplish what this scene accomplishes, and they never succeed.
Okay, you almost lost me for a second
Yes.
there. I was like,
No,
what?
what the Rob Zombie Firefly family movies do, like House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects and whatnot, they try and give you the scene where it's like, oh, these people are like doing horrible shit, and for them it's just like another day. Like this is just their day-to-day existence. Is inflicting unimaginable like pain and trauma and devastation on other people, and they're like so accustomed to it that they like don't feel anything about it, you know. And it's like, I feel like in the Firefly family movies, my takeaway is always, this is exploitative and these characters are annoying, and it doesn't give me the like it doesn't really land for me the way that the movie is trying for. This is trying to give you sort of the same vibe, and I think it works way better. Where it's like Samuel like walking over and like picking the card off the tree and being like, read this, right? And then holding the gun like in her ear, and her like tears streaming down her face while she's reading it, and he's just like munching on turkey while it's happening. It is like very upsetting.
And like threatening to stab her eye out with the fork if she gets like. I'm glad that you said that, because the first time I saw this movie, this scene really upset me, and this is probably the 4th or 5th time I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say it is still extremely upsetting.
Yeah,
like this is
not nice.
this is maybe one of the most upsetting scenes that I've seen in a movie.
Yeah.
And not because it is super graphic, not because it ever goes off the rails and becomes exploitative. Just because it is so well directed and does such a good job of putting you in the mindset of these characters.
Totally. Yes, exactly.
Like and the fact that all of everything that's happening to Ray Winstone is happening off screen.
Yeah.
Until we go into that room.
Right. And you see that he's been beaten into a bloody mess, but you don't see it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Arthur calls for Samuel, and he just goes, "That's our cue," and grabs her by the hair and like tosses her into the room, and it's like, oh God, no. Yeah. And then he's gonna sexually assault her because they're pieces of shit, and that's what pieces of shit in colonial Australia do, I guess.
Yep.
And it's very upsetting, but it's also, again, done in like a not exploitative way.
It's tastefully done, yeah.
Yes. The thing is, it's sometimes dicey territory to talk about depictions of sexual assault in film. But I am going to delve into those waters
especially
anyway.
when you're two white guys with a podcast.
That's right. I'm going to delve into that anyway, because like I think my feelings on this, right, and this is just my own personal preference. I understand everybody has their own relationship to this stuff, but I think that there are circumstances in which you can portray sexual assault or attempted sexual assault or whatever on film and in a movie, and have it be the right choice for the film, right? I don't think it's the wrong choice to ever depict that, right? I think that it is probably the thing that filmmakers need to be the most careful about depicting.
Sure.
Right? It is like really up there on the list of things that you need to think long and hard about how you write it, how you film it, how it is acted, all of that stuff, right? Because it's just, if you stray from even a little bit, it becomes like a huge black mark on your film, like a huge smudge, regardless of what else your film contains. And I'm happy to say that I think in this movie they handled it pretty well. You know, it is very upsetting. It is supposed to be very upsetting. But I was never upset in a way where I was like, oh, come on, you know, which is the reaction that like I feel like I get some of the time. When movies depict sexual assault, you don't want to stray into territory where you're alienating your audience from the art itself by including that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think what really makes this scene stand out to me is the performances and the character choices that they make of like Samuel singing while he's committing the act, and then Arthur Burns takes Ray Winstone's wrapped in the Australian flag or the Union Jack. It's a little hard to tell, but he pulls the flag off of his face. We see that he's been beaten and bloodied to an extreme degree, and then Arthur makes him watch, but Arthur's also sort of treating the whole thing with the same like detached, romantic, soft-spoken air that he has acted for the rest of this movie.
It's like when he was talking about the landscapes, right?
Yeah.
Earlier he's talking about the landscape, and he's like, "Oh, it's such a beautiful country.
Yeah.
It's a salve for the soul, right?"
Yeah.
And it's like, he sort of treats this the same way, and you're like, "Oh, this guy is a monster. Like he's like the devil."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when and here Charlie Burns shows up, Guy Pearce comes into the room, and Arthur says something like, "Charlie, you're just in time. Listen to Samuel. He sings like a bird."
Yeah.
And then Charlie tells him that Mikey's been killed, and Arthur has no reaction.
Yep. And Charlie just immediately shoots Samuel. So that fucking little psycho's dead. And then he just turns around and does he even say anything to Arthur, or does he just shoot him right away? I think,
he does. He just shoots him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I love Arthur's reaction because he gets shot in the gut, right?
Oh,
And he's like, "Oh, not the guts." Just like, "Oh, fuck it, come on, man." And then he shoots him again.
But Reservoir Dogs told me that it takes a really long time for a guy to die from a gut shot wound.
Yeah, that's why he says not the guts, because he wants it to be quick. It's going to be slow and painful getting shot in the gut.
But then he does just fall over and die in a few minutes.
Well, that's because he shoots him again.
Oh, yeah,
he shoots him in the gut, and then he shoots him in the chest.
I also love Ray Winstone getting shot through the shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
That's like really good too.
Yeah. So Arthur has been shot a couple times. He leaves the house, right? And Charlie has like a moment with Ray Winstone. Like they look at each other, and Ray Winstone's had the shit beat out of him. And Charlie says, like, I'm gonna go be with my brother.
That's all he says.
Yep.
I love this moment
It's
because we don't get any insight into why Charlie does this other than just things that we can infer.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is probably Charlie shooting Samuel. It's possible that Charlie has a certain moral code where he's like, you shouldn't do that to a woman.
Yeah.
It's possible that he shoots Arthur because he doesn't have any reaction to Mikey's death.
Right. Or shooting both of them is an act of penance for what happened to the Hopkins family, and maybe he feels really bad about that.
Yeah.
And maybe like that's why he left the gang. It's all sort of open to interpretation. A thing that I do like a lot that gives you a lot of insight, I think, into Guy Pearce's character is one of the things he does say to Arthur in this scene is, "That's enough."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's such a pointed thing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Or he says, it's maybe not that's enough. It's like, maybe like no more of this.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Where he's basically just like, I am putting an end to this. Like, that we have gone too far, you know? And it's like, that is really the moment that lets you kind of know where his head is at. Where he's like I refuse to be a part of this world anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
And the vibe of the interaction that he has with Captain Stanley is very much like, I didn't do this for you.
Yeah.
I did this. Like, we're still enemies. I don't respect you.
Yeah.
I did this for me, you
Right.
know? And I really, really love that all of that goes unspoken.
Yeah.
And then Charlie walks out to watch the beautiful Australian sunset with his brother.
Yep.
And
Arthur dies.
Arthur says, "Well, what are you going to do now, Charlie?"
Yeah.
And then he dies.
Yep. And that's
the movie.
That's the movie. That's the proposition. There was a proposition, and it turned out really bad for everybody. and we're all very sad.
Yep, very sad. Justice is John Hillcoat's The Proposition, written by Nick Cave, released in 2005, starring Guy Pearce, Ray Winstone, Danny Huston, Emily Watson, David Wenham, and John Hurt. The greatest movie ever made.
David. I liked this. Sorry, that was not in the affirmative.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
This movie was quite good, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. There were a lot of things that were standouts to me here. The performances, the original score, the screenplay. I think all of those were working in its favor. I think it's pretty well shot. I think it looks pretty good. And it's very it succeeds at both being sort of like brooding and thinky, and also like pretty tense and like kind of a tightly wound plot machine too, which is like a hard balance to pull off, and I think it's impressive that the movie does it. It's interesting as a Western, sort of as like an outlier Western, like we were talking about. I think the only real issues that I have with the movie is sort of like some of the stuff we talked about, where like I wish you got a little bit more insight into some of the side characters, especially the Aboriginal characters, and also like I just feel like the thematic stuff here. Maybe it's just because I've only seen this movie once, and haven't really had time to sit with it, but I kind of feel like I wanted a little bit more juice for the squeeze here, because I feel like
Sorry, juice for the squeeze?
Yeah.
Is that a phrase that people use?
It's a phrase I just used.
Wow.
I
don't know how I feel about that, but I'm remembering that one for sure.
You've heard the juice isn't worth the squeeze, right? Have you heard that one?
Perhaps, I don't know.
Because I think maybe I was just modifying that.
A little bit more cum from the jerk off.
No, I think it's supposed to be like a lemon or a lime.
I know. I just wanted to make it dirty. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like maybe if I go back to it, I'll feel differently. But this first watch left me feeling a little bit like, okay, what a compelling and an interesting story. And also, I don't really know if it hit me on a deeper level than that. Like, I don't really know if I'm going to be, like, feeling stuff related to this movie for a while after this first watch. And maybe I just need to sit with the movie more. But that's how I was feeling about it right immediately post first watch. All that being said, it is a great movie if you want to have a really bad fucking time and you like Westerns, or even if you don't like Westerns, because like I am not well versed in the genre and I enjoyed this a lot. So like check it out.
And you like movies that are a bad time.
Yes, I love a bad time movie. This is not quite an evil film though. It
no,
just doesn't
no,
have
no.
the yeah. But I do love bad time movies, and I had a wonderful bad time watching this movie. I'm gonna give it a soft no, but I feel like I might have wiggle room on this on subsequent viewings. You know, this might be one where the next time I watch it, I'll be like, I gave that a no. What was I thinking? You know, but that's just like how I'm feeling about it on this first watch. But it's still quite good, and I enjoyed it a lot. Okay. David, is The Proposition the greatest movie ever made?
This is an excellent movie. This is one of my favorite Westerns. I think, to echo a lot of what you said, top to bottom, this thing is gorgeous, and the music is great. I love the atmosphere of this film. I love the setting of this film and how it puts you in this particular time and place and makes you feel all of the themes that it is trying to convey. And And it's stacked wall to wall with incredible performances. And a couple of these performances, I think, are among the best in their respective actors' careers. Like you, I do wish there was a little bit more to chew on here.
Yeah.
I wish there was a stronger Aboriginal presence in the movie. I wish we were talking about that more. I wish there were those characters that we have in the movie had a little bit more to them, because they do feel kind of pushed aside by the narrative, even though they're not the main characters in this movie. It'd be nice to have a little bit more with them. And I do love a lot of the themes in this movie. I am missing a little bit extra depth with them, and I am missing a little bit of emotional connection to the story.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I am really invested in the events that are happening, and invested in how beautifully I think Hillcoat shoots this movie and directs this film and depicts the film's events, I just want a little bit more of it. But then again, it also has, I think, a very, very disturbing and powerful climax, and a lot of really affecting conversations throughout the movie, and great musings on the human condition, on racism and colonialism, on God. It hits all of those things, like you said, that I really connect with in a movie. But I'm going to give it a no.
Wow.
I'm going to give it a soft no, like you.
All right.
But I will. This is one of the best movies that we've talked about from like my perspective. But from the perspective of the podcast, I'm going to have to give it a no. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's just missing that extra 10% to push it over the line for me.
Yeah. That's interesting that we're as eye to eye on this one as we are. I sort of thought you were going to be way more effusively positive in your verdict than I was. But yeah, no, it seems like we're pretty much in the same boat here.
It's sort of like the only other movie that I can compare this verdict to is like Crash, where like this is a 9 out of 10 movie. And I really, really, really wish that I could push it over to being a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But those things that are holding it back also are kind of holding it back on my verdict.
That's sort of how I felt when we did Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, which I think gave a no to. And like I've rewatched it since then, and I think it would maybe be a yes now, because I've connected to it better now than I had when we recorded that episode. But I think on that episode, that's sort of how I was feeling, where I was like, this is such a great movie, and it's frustrating that it's not perfect.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That is the proposition.
That's the proposition.
2 no's, but still a really good movie, and I think you should watch it.
Yeah.
If you haven't.
Agreed.
Next week, we're talking about The Love Witch. This is a High Priestess pod pick.
Yes.
Have you seen this before?
I have. This is a Podmaster mandate. We will be watching The Love Witch, a movie that is a one-of-a-kind experience. I don't think I've ever seen another movie quite like The Love Witch. So it'll be fun talking about that. It'll be really interesting to hear your thoughts.
Yes, join us next week to hear if I think that The Love Witch is a film unlike any other movie that I've seen. We'll see if it's a high bar. It's a high bar.
Well, I'm not saying that in like necessarily like, you know, it's just, I don't think that another movie out there has quite the vibe.
But I also feel like a lot of the movies that we give yeses to are movies unlike anything else that we've seen.
That's true. Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
I do remember hearing some buzz about this movie, but don't know a ton about it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. In the meantime, you lovely, wonderful people listening back home, whether you're in the harsh wilderness of the Australian outback or down the street from us here in our hometown, please leave us a review, like and subscribe, rate, share it with your friends. We appreciate you supporting the show so much. And I'm slurring my words, so that means it's time to end the show.
Turn off the mics.
See you next week for The Love Witch. And as always, like a dipshits.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Greatest Movie Ever Made. Please remember to leave us a rating and a review, and to subscribe to the show wherever you listen. We appreciate you supporting the show and spreading the word. Tell your friends to listen, tell your enemies to listen, tell your mom to listen. If your neighbor has an unsecured Bluetooth speaker, connect to it and play an episode. You can follow us on social media at TGMEM_podcast. And if you've got a movie that you want us to talk about, send us an email at thegreatestmoviepodcast@gmail.com.